We all know the weather controls our lives. So why not go to the person that controls the weather? TV meteorologist. If only that was the case. I'm going to talk to my friend Ed Wilson. Worked with Ed a couple of times in television. He is the chief meteorologist at WHO TV in Des Moines, Iowa. He's worked in Mason City. He's from Grundy Center. So this is a heavy Iowa episode when it comes to weather and farmers. And we ride with Ed during the Iowa State Fair. This is our last of our corndog conversations that we're going to show you as part of the MTOM podcast. By the way, I'm Paul Yeager. Thanks for dialing us up again this week. So Ed and I go for a ride. He gets stopped, and he talks about one of his favorite places to work. It's the pork tent. Find out why in this episode of the podcast. Do you think we're going to be able to go more than 30 feet without you getting stopped?
I hope so. I hope we do.
Are you Mr. State Fair now?
I don't know if I'm Mr. State Fair, but I love the fair, and it's been so good to me. And it's a reunion every year, you know. So they call me Mr. State Fair, but I don't think I've quite earned that. I mean, I'm not a Bill Riley.
No.
I'm not, I'm just Mr. Ed.
I've been asking people in the media center, I'm like, is there anybody who's been covering the fair longer as a TV person than Ed Wilson from Channel 13 in Des Moines? And they said, no, I don't think so.
This is my 32nd year at the fair, as doing either the weather or covering it. So
1988 was your first fair?
1989.
89.
I came in September of 88, so I just missed the fair.
Did you come to the fair as a kid from Grundy Center?
You know, I was here a couple of times, but here's the story. So my mother was she worked with the ISU extension in Grundy County. And she was in charge of the Grundy County Fair and getting all of the fair products to the state fair. And frankly, it wasn't her most favorite time of the year because it was a lot of work.
Yeah.
So we didn't come down that often. It was usually to drop something off and then go back.
So there was no, hey, let's stop and get a corn dog.
No, and I was really jealous of a lot of my FFA friends. You know, they were all involved, and they got to come down and show their livestock, do all that stuff. And we lived in town, so my family had a farm, but I wasn't living on it. So I was really jealous. I wanted to be a part of it.
Can I stop and get you a corn dog?
Let's get a corn dog.
Okay, stay right here. I'll be right back. It's on
wow.
me.
Wow.
Okay? Yeah. I'm here
okay, then, please.
You're my kind of guy. Hold on. A little disclaimer. Ed and I have worked together 1, 2, 3 different times. But, Ed, I'm going to go with the fourth thing first. We were at the same station, not at the same time. You were a KIMT Mason City guy.
Yep.
Bruce Owney, I believe, played Harold Hill in a community theater.
Yes.
Did you?
I did not. I did not do that, but I love theater. I did a lot of that in high school, even after high school. There's a group in Conrad, Iowa, called the Whistle Stop Players. And so I was Sky Masterson in Guys and Dolls.
Guys and Dolls.
Yeah.
So
what is it about what TV people that do that?
Ed has sung the national anthem at lots of places. You know, I believe, wasn't your first college major going to be music?
It was. I was a vocal music major. Good for you. That's some deep dive.
And I got to remember, it was, I want to say Central Arkansas, but that's not right.
It was Southern Arkansas. It was Arkansas. It was Arkadelphia, but it was Ouachita Baptist University.
That's why I can't remember
Southern
that.
Baptist down there. I still get the drawl whenever I say it.
But you sing and you've involved yourself in the community so many times. And the reason I bring up Harold Hill is this year that's the accompanying Butter theme.
Right.
So you understand the significance of having Harold Hill and the Music Man in Iowa.
Absolutely. And working in Mason City, I was involved with their annual festival at that time. And I think they still do a form of it, but I was always on the committee, and it was such a big deal, and it is a big deal. The theater where they had, the premiere was still there when I was there. It's just, there's so much history and cool history about Mason City and Music Man.
You're a very identifiable person, both your voice, we've talked about, for a while your looks. The tooth thing was always a fun. Rob Olson, one of your old coworkers, had done the story when you had. I think that was my first time going through. But people stop and want to see you, Ed, at the fair. What does that mean to you when someone wants a picture?
It means everything. It's so much fun. And I have many pictures where somebody that I saw when they were a 5th grader or a 5-year-old, and they're now grown, they bring up the picture of the two of us together back then, and then we do a redo. I have these side-by-side pictures that are hilarious. So it means so much. There's a group of gals here too. Every first Thursday, they come down and they're the Fairway Queens, but it's Fair. They're all golfing buddies, and they get their outfits on, and they always queen me, or crown me one of the queens with them.
Nice.
And so I mean, I have tons of friends. You know what it's like. You meet so many people that become lifelong friends. It's great.
You can't pick, I'm guessing, a favorite anything here because you'd really upset the apple cart.
Yeah, I don't want to.
But are there staples that you try to hit, or maybe from a TV perspective, live shots or conversations you try to have each year?
Well, my favorite thing is to be right out here where we are, right on the Grand Concourse. And when we do live weather out here, that's the genuine article. You find whatever is going on that day, and you can't fake it. It's just who they are. They have a blast. Especially during the evening hours, during our evening shows. So that's my favorite thing, is to meet people and to hear their stories and their riot. And they're never shy about telling us what their life is, what's going on. So that's one of my favorite things. But I think as a staple for me, it's the pork tent. The pork tent guys are fantastic. They've been so good to me over the years. I've become really good friends with several of them.
Have you been asked to be in pretty much every contest here?
Yes, I actually judged the twins contest for several years, and the sexiest whatever it
Mr.
is.
Legs.
Yeah, Mr. Legs, did that a couple of years, but just before I came here, I had a cortisone shot put into my knee, so the knee's not so great looking anymore. But
so you're not entering Mr. Legs today?
No, I am not. Maybe the crooked leg. It's the bad looking leg.
So have you thrown a cow chip?
I've done that several times, several years. I
Bagged
actually won
groceries?
1 year.
Oh, you did win 1 year.
Yeah, 1 year.
So you and I are
Yes.
both been champs of that
Yes.
event. Have you bagged groceries?
I've done that. Bagged groceries. Pie eating contest 1 year. 1 year. That's something you don't want to see on TV, honestly. When you have pie in your nose or in your face,
Yeah. Do you find that the fair is different during the different times of day?
Oh, absolutely. And if to really experience the fair, I think you need to be there at some point. Come in the morning, really early, and see everything getting started. Then hang around for the noon, and then later, maybe not the same day. Come back and see the evening where everything's lit up and concerts are going on, people getting out of the concerts. It's a totally different aspect. It's really fun.
Have you ever been able to walk down Grand Avenue without anybody saying, "Hey, there's Ed"?
Well, there've been some people that confuse me with other weather people. Not when I had brown hair. Now the white hair kind of set it off. Whereas, that's that white guy, the white hair guy. There, that's him. But there's never been a time where I get out here, and I love it. But you got to plan accordingly, because if they want to get a picture, they want to talk and chat. I just saw my aunt out here. My aunt and my dad's in a nursing home, so my uncle is hanging out with my dad for me for a little bit today. So it's wonderful. I love it.
Has the station, okay, we can't quite see it. The station used to have a presence at the Walnut stage.
Right behind
which
the
doesn't even
administration.
exist
Yeah, it's
anymore.
gone. Right.
What do you remember about those early years that you had to do with the weather? Or at the station presence?
And we took the whole 5 o'clock show out there. At that time, it was called Live at 5. So when I started, Jim Strickland, so Jim Strickland was out here, Lori Groves, Lori Long now.
Yeah.
And of course, then she went to the Farm Bureau, and I would see her out at the fair.
And now the mayor of Cedar Rapids was on that show at some point too,
Yes.
Tiffany O'Donnell.
Yeah, Tiffany, yeah.
So I mean, it's rotated, but
It was nice. I loved it. And it was, the Walnut stage also had a canopy on it, so if it was raining, you could get inside, you could get away from that. Our audience could. And there was a lot of people. They would just pack that place. But we were kind of up on stage, so I felt like we were not really as close as I'd like to be. I like to be with the folks.
Why did you take my line? He's a man of the people, is what he's trying to say. Ed likes to be among the people.
I'm that kind of guy. I enjoy a hug. I enjoy a high five, and little kids are the best. They just crack me up. They say so many incredible things, and kind of like the old Art Linkletter. Nobody maybe is that old, but Art Linkletter, had the kids say the darndest things. but they do, and you could run a whole fair show around that. Kind of like when Dwayne Elliott was out here with Floppy.
Right.
Those Floppy shows. People come to me and go back, way back in time, way before me, and it's really fun to hear.
And how many people will tell you, I was on the Floppy show, do you still have it on tape from 1987?
Right, I know. And we do have a lot of film. There is film down in our archive room that actually, I think for a while on Christmas Day instead of the news, we would run Floppy, an old Floppy show. And for people who don't know about Floppy, he was an adorable little dog, but everybody grew up with that. In my era, that was a big deal. It's huge.
And you're now the big deal for all of those people. I don't think anybody's trying to control you from behind, though.
There are strings, but they're all hidden. Yeah, the boss makes sure that no, but I'm kind of a history buff too. I enjoy that. We still have all kinds of Floppy stuff. That's the big signs and things like that in our station. Back in that prop room.
Yep.
It's cool to go back in there and just see the big head of Floppy looking down at you.
All right, Ed, we finally have one of these. You okay with a corn dog?
Absolutely.
All right. I'm not gonna make you pick a favorite, but are you one that can eat a corn dog at any time of day?
Pretty much. It really, if you think about the breading, and if you want to pretend that this is a sausage or something, it could be a breakfast food, obviously lunch, dinner, but you have to have one.
You had to have learned pretty early in your TV career how to eat and talk at the same time. You're not supposed to take a bite and then try to talk through it, but how do you do it?
Don't take a huge bite. I would usually try to eat the whole sandwich in one bite, Still do.
Yeah.
But when you're interviewing somebody or you're trying to talk, it's the worst because your mouth is full. It looks gross. But yeah, you got to do it in little bites.
And now that you've said that, I just took a small little bite, so thank you. And it's fitting, Ed, that as we're doing this, it's raining. What gives, Ed Wilson? Why does the weather guy ruin my plans all the time?
Well, back here I have my umbrella. It's not raining that hard, but if I would have left my umbrella, it would be downpour. It's the weatherman's curse. When you don't have the right gear, you're going to get whatever you're going to get.
How many times do you hear from the fair? Probably not at the fair as much as you do. You get called in the weather office of, I'm trying to cut hay. Do I have a window?
Right.
How many of those calls do you get?
Whether it's farmers, a lot of cement workers, where they have to have a specific, it's a lot better now that whatever they're using, the product is much better. But it used to be if even 5 minutes of rain would ruin a whole project. Yeah. I used to get that a lot. And I had some friends that were in construction. I gave them my number. I said, just call me. I can, help you through it, hopefully. I can lie to you in person or on air.
I've talked to other weather people in our podcast about that, and I go, why is it you ruin everything? And it's such a hard thing to pick an area because Audubon can be different than Colfax, which can be different than Grundy Center or Canal. It's all different. We have the best weather in the world for weather people. We're in that zone. You go from Minnesota to Highway 20, Highway 20 to Highway 30, Highway 30 to I-80, I-80 to 34. Hey guys! Look at that! There they are!
Woohoo! They have their ponchos too. But it's a zonal weather thing, and it can be totally different in each zone. And living in Mason City, some of the coldest weather I've ever experienced in my life
was March.
Yeah. That's perfect. It is. But it was, it's so flat there, and it's so windy all the time.
Yeah.
I lived on Clear Lake.
Yeah.
A friend of my family had a place. They let me live there for free because I couldn't afford it. But I did that in the wintertime, coldest winter I've ever spent in my life. Crazy. I remember when my sister had gone to Waldorf and in Forest City, and she's just like, you don't understand, the wind is going to blow all the time up there. And she was right. I'm thinking, I'm from Jessup. It doesn't not blow here. I'm like, you just don't know. It is just constant. You're right. Oh, we're going to play chicken with a garbage truck. Do you ever find driving a golf cart through the grounds, which is easier, a golf cart or a live truck? Oh, golf cart's way easier, but either way, You know, I mean, there's a wider berth obviously for a live truck, but there are so many people packed in, especially, you know, Saturday, 113,000 people. It's almost impossible. I would rather walk most days than even drive a cart.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
just easier,
Yeah.
just to maneuver and get around. And if you're carrying gear, that's a different thing. But
You mentioned the pork tent earlier. We're
Oh,
coming
yes.
up on it now.
they have a nice line going on here too. It's
You
great.
have done live shots. You've cooked pork up here. You've probably who do you think's flipped more pork chops up here than you?
Well, I mean, other than the pork folks themselves, one of my really good friends is Dana Wonkin. You know Dana? His nickname is Spanky. But he's here, you know, he's from Northern Iowa as well, but he is here almost every single day. Hi, guys! He's here almost every single day, and standing between those, you know, standing between those grills,
Oh.
there's not a hotter place.
No.
I mean, this is comfortable today. Today's wonderful. But hi, how are you? But it's so hot on a hot day, and I don't know. I would drink plenty of water trying to prepare, and it would still, you could just feel it ooze away from you.
I asked you about weather and farming a little bit. Do you have farmers? Yeah, somebody said, is it going to rain? Do you have people? Do you get a better sense of maybe how dry or how wet someone's corner of the world is? So, like when you see the drought monitor come out on Thursday,
Right.
Are you like,
Guys,
that doesn't match up with from what I heard, or is it or just does everybody exaggerate a little bit more on how wet or how dry they are?
I think it's maybe a little bit of both. You know, Sioux City, that area this year, you know, has just been crushed by the drought. You know, they're chopping silage, you know, for the corn and that sort of thing. I'm preaching to you about this, right? Anyway, but with the drought monitor, it's hard to explain to people, that the drought monitor is actually taken on Tuesday and released on Thursday.
Right.
Well, between Tuesday and Thursday, we could have had a downpour, and it will really change everything that's going to come up in the next week. So it's a little hard to do that. And I try to preface that all the time, but yeah, and people will get mad at. Sometimes people have gotten mad at us for smiling when it's sunny.
Yeah.
I saw you smiling the other day. You know, that's not going to help my crops burning up out here. And I'm just sorry. I was just trying to be myself.
A
you know?
friendly person.
Yeah, whatever. But it, you know, you don't think about it, and then maybe that gives me a little more consciousness about whatever somebody's might be going through.
So in a way, when you have to be the bad guy on TV and say it's going to be sunny or hot or rainy or snowing, that you can come along and say, hey, how you doing? How's it going?
Yeah, right.
And be back among everybody and just try to help your image.
Well, and it's, you know, I always say, you know, I'm the middleman. He says that, I guess that we get it. So, you know, it's the complete middleman package here.
I've never heard that.
And so, but it's funny, but there are some people who kind of forget that we can't make the weather. You know, that the movie Groundhog Day, that you know, where
Murray.
Bill Murray's the weather guy, and he says at one point, "I make the weather." You know, well, we don't, and it's a very complex world that we live in as far as weather in Iowa, which never is boring, which is really great. I love that. But there will be people at Hy-Vee that will come up to me, or at Fairway, or wherever I'm trying to be, any grocery store
Anywhere to get groceries.
in the state of Iowa, but they will come up and talk to me about why is it so dry. They really want to go into detail, and that's why my wife doesn't take me shopping anymore.
Because
We just can't get out. It's, you know,
Are you complaining?
not at all.
Okay.
Very happy.
Just
And
making sure.
I'd usually mess up the coupons anyway, so you know.
Let's wrap up with the discussion of the fair. One more thing. Could you ever come? Have you ever come as a civilian?
Oh yes.
And so, but do you then all of a sudden have to be Mr. One of the Mr. State Fairs?
Really, a little bit. And, you know, I wouldn't wear a TV 13 shirt, you know, WHO 13 shirt when I'm out here just on my daily day.
Right.
But, you know, when our kids were growing up, they wanted to go to the fair. We wanted to take them to the fair and enjoy that. When I have family that will come to town, that sort of thing. When my mom was a huge fair person after she retired. Then she wanted to come to the fair. So I would take her to the fair. It was so much fun, you know, then for her. But yeah, absolutely. You got to come to the fair. It's just it's what we do. It's, you know, 1 million people in a 3 million person population.
Yeah.
This is what we are.
1 out of 3 Iowans come to the fair.
Right.
But that leads me to my last thing. when you stop and talk to people during a report and you'll ask where they're from and you hear somebody from out of state, do you smile?
Oh, absolutely.
Because they picked the state fair?
I love that.
And-
Or we've had several times foreign exchange students. They're coming, they're just getting to Iowa. They're going to spend a year with his family, and they bring them to the Iowa State Fair. What an inauguration to get into this thing and just be completely hit in the face with Iowa. This is as Iowa as it gets, but I love that too. So it's, yeah, I love it when people from other states come here.
Yeah.
And when we made the bucket list, where that was the top 10 things.
Yeah.
It was fascinating. I love it.
Ed Wilson, I greatly appreciate the time. Enjoy your corn dog.
Thank you, my friend.
And enjoy your fair. Good to see you.
This has been so much fun, Paul. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I miss working with you, but I love watching you.
I appreciate that a ton. Thanks, Ed.
Great.
My thanks to Mr. Ed, modestly called, or he doesn't want to call himself Mr. State Fair, but we all know. People know him at the State Fair. Thanks for watching. If you have any feedback, send me an email at markettomarket@iowapbs.org. We'll see you next Tuesday for a new episode of the MTOM Podcast.